fresh haircut? Because that's crisp. You've changed it. You're a little high and tight today. It looks very good.
Thank you.
When did you get this?
I didn't. It's not a new haircut. I just style.
You actually put some crap in your hair? Because it looks amazing.
I did. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Keep it up.
I'll note that for future.
It's so thick and lustrous. But Mark is good at managing up. Actually, I don't from you about that.
You manage up. I don't.
You just email people randomly like, "Hey, Brad, meet me."
Yeah.
But is that your personality that allows you to do that, or your title?
I think title and reputation.
The reputation thing. Scott and Mark learned to build reputation.
How about Scott and Mark learned to reputate?
Okay. Yes, dude. Let's start right now. Check this out. Okay, so Mark, true story.
Yeah.
I was talking to a very, very nice mid-level PM about some NPU technical specific stuff. And I'm not plugged into that organization, but they wanted to get a small language model running. And we were talking about how the Onyx runtime does quantization. And it was just a whole thing. And he's like, yeah, I think so-and-so, this distinguished engineer is working on that, da-da-da-da-da. And I said, oh, let's chat him. So before that person could stop me, I looked the guy up and I started chatting him. And I asked a very precise, kind of almost like sniper rifle, precise question. I nerd sniped the guy. And he answered immediately. And basically I shared my screen and the eyeball popped down, like the team's eyeball, which indicates the guy's seen it. Mm-hmm. And the guy I was talking to was like, do you know him? And I'm like, no, I don't know him. Like, why are you probably should have asked his admin or talked to someone before. I was like, well, he's a human being. He's interested in the topic. It's a good question. Let's ask the guy. And then it turned into this really interesting, long half-an-hour conversation with someone I've never met before. And the takeaway here was that the senior PM that I was talking to said that they never felt empowered to do that. So then the question was it my level, my name, my reputation that enabled me to talk to a rando that I didn't know? Because I assume you, Mark, feel like you could talk to anyone in Microsoft. You could chat anyone. You're not going to not chat someone. And are you doing it because you've been in tech for so long? And how does someone build up that if they are a middle of the bell curve in their career engineer?
It is because of my title, seniority in the company, and reputation that I feel like I can do that. And also, I know that I'm not bothering people with randomness. I do get that by people in random parts of the company with random requests that I just don't respond to. I'm like, who is it? So you
just let the eyeball stay there, the team's eyeball.
Yeah. I actually, I think you can go and change it so it looks unread.
I do that too. People don't, is that bad? I like right click on the thing and move the eyeball back up.
Yeah, it is. I feel dirty. I've never really done it. I just discovered one day
you think about that.
Yeah. But then I'm like, should I do that?
I do that with you all the time. You just never know. But we've talked about level privilege, right? There's all the different privilege about being in tech for a long time. Like a lot of time, you just have to build up reputation. People know you. But I think the thing that you just said that was so significant that clicked is, I know I'm not bothering them with randomness.
Yeah.
I don't like it when someone teams as me and they could have Googled.
Absolutely. And that's happened to me a few times. Or they're like, hey, who's the person I should talk to about this? Or where do I find information about that? Or you said something, or here's another one. I saw you give a talk. Where's the deck? And it's just some random person.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have time to, answer people with where's the deck when you could go find where the deck is.
Exactly. I'm looking at this chat here and I'm making sure, the one that I talked about, and I'm looking to make sure I didn't waste this guy's time. No, it was a very clean, technical paragraph it was a good starter. There was nothing randomizing, and it was squarely in their expertise. But I think it's okay to say no. And I think that you don't need to be mean about it. You just say, I'm probably not the person to answer that,
Yeah.
Or it's just tough to say, you shouldn't have bothered me with this. And that's where I would never say that out loud, even though I'm saying it on a podcast. You should know better than to bother me with that. Sounds very snooty. But what you're really saying is that you should be really sure that I'm the right person to answer that, and that you should be really sure that you've exhausted all reasonable Googling before you got to me. So in the example I gave, I asked the right person, and it was squarely in their expertise. So I felt emboldened to do it.
And you would actually, so if somebody is asking me some random thing where I'm like, I'm not the right person to do this, to answer this, or you could have done the work and answered it yourself some other way, I just won't answer it.
So you just leave them on red?
I just leave them on red.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I leave them red. They can see that I read it, but I just don't answer.
Right. Yeah, that means leave them on red. Red is the little blue check in WhatsApp, or the red thing on the eyeballs in Teams, or the red on iMessages. You're basically saying, I've seen it and I care not. And that's, I wonder karmically if that's going to burn you in the future.
Why would?
Because you always hear about like Paul Rudd and all these cool, amazing, like famous people that are like, and they were so sweet to me when I bumped into them and interrupted them in the middle of their dinner with their wife and took a picture.
If I see somebody, and I mean, you've seen, like, if we're walking around a conference and people are saying, hey, how's it going? Hey, Mark, can I take a selfie or whatever?
Yeah, they don't usually say, I teamsed you and you left me on red.
Yeah. And there's been, like I said, I've throughout my career, when people email me thoughtful questions or comments, I respond to them to the point where I get, like, even at the last Ignite, somebody come up and say, I remember I emailed you once 15 years ago and you answered me.
Dude, that happens so much. Thoughtful questions. And I think this is what we're trying to get back to the point on, is you build influence by asking thoughtful questions. You did your homework. Like, I think about it in the terms of the Donald Knuth reward checks. You remember those?
No, I don't remember them. Oh, yeah, for finding bugs in his book.
Are you doing email now?
Yeah.
So Knuth is like a computer scientist. He won like the Turing Award, like the year I was born. It's like the Nobel Prize of computer science, right? And he wrote The Art of Computer Programming. And he's still around. He's like 87. And he would write checks to people when they found a bug. And the dollars would be like $2.56 or $1. And if you found a bug or an error in any of his books, it could be a typo, but it's more glamorous to like find an actual technical thing. He will give you like 256 cents, like one hexadecimal dollar. But no one ever cashes them. They put them on their wall.
I know there was a Microsoft kernel engineer that found something wrong in some proof or something. And Knuth gave him the $250 or whatever it was.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Yeah. Being able to get something like that, I think is like, it built up this legend that like, I'm not going to bother this guy, but if I do, I'm going to make sure I did the homework. And then he rewards you with this, effectively an autograph in the form of a check, which I think was really cool.
Have you ever given somebody a check?
No, I have not. But when someone asks a good question, I have said this publicly, it is a gift. I don't email them back the answer. I do a blog post or TikTok, or I put it into text and I send them a URL to the answer. I actually have an email.
So you don't answer them. You go and do a TikTok, and then like a month later say, you send them the link.
No. There's no month.
Like, what is this?
There's no month later. So when I TikTok's probably not a good example, but like here's an example, and maybe we'll answer this right now. Hey, my name is Name, and I'm a junior pursuing a Bachelor of Science at Indiana University. Thank you for your content, blah, 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 incredibly educational and motivating. Okay, very, very glamour. Thank you for your hard work in your career. They're basically thanking me. I am reaching out because I am unsure about the best next steps in my career. I struggle on deciding on meaningful projects, and I am paralyzed by self-doubt. Imposter syndrome is something I battle with, and it holds me back. How do I overcome the paralysis and identify projects that help me grow technically and also contribute to long-term goals? Because I've written publicly about imposter syndrome, I get messages like this. For me too, I could write them 5 paragraphs and they would appreciate it, but I could write a blog post in 5 paragraphs and then send them a link to that blog post.
And then other people appreciate it.
Or send them this podcast.
Yeah.
Um, you don't seem like an imposter syndrome type of a person, though.
That you saying that you don't think I have imposter
I'm
syndrome?
saying that I don't know. I mean, I don't know inside your brain, but I admire your boldness, and I feel like you stand in your technical competence. So I wonder if you're ever in a room feeling like you don't belong.
That's a really good question. I do go into meetings where I feel like I just don't understand. And am I, missing, like, am I just being dumb by not understanding? And should I just keep my mouth shut? Because, of course, I care about what people think about me, and I don't want people to think I'm dumb or be like, wow, he's really off today. Did he not sleep well last night? But I will, regardless, if I don't understand it, I force myself to just say it. I don't understand.
And you're acknowledging, though, that you of all people have been in situations or are in situations on somewhat regular basis, not multiple times a week, but certainly multiple times a year, where you're like, okay, I don't know this thing. I just don't get it. It hasn't clicked for me yet. And that's okay to feel that way.
Yeah. And there's this balance too, right? Because you don't want to go into a meeting and where something's obvious and everybody should know because they should have done their homework or thought about it for more than 2 minutes and just go, I don't get it. Explain it. And then everybody's like, okay, so now this person's obviously just being lazy or clueless. And now we need to stop the whole meeting, bring them up to speed. So I don't want to be that person either.
Yeah. That you've just split a hair, I think is really important to call out. So call back to me chatting this person out of the blue and having a great technical conversation and having this junior or earlier in career person go, wow, I didn't know that you could do that. I did it because I was confident in the questions and the line of questioning, and I knew what I knew and I knew what I didn't know.
Yeah.
But I didn't send a message to a distinguished engineer at Microsoft saying, where's the docs on how to do blah on the NPU?
Yeah.
That is an inappropriate use of teamsing. So I didn't enter a meeting that
or
not knowing
how to do X on the NPU where you could have figured it out yourself.
Yeah, or ask Copilot or 50 different ways. It is, you're calling out the difference between, I didn't prep, what, huh? What's this meeting about? Versus, I have done a lot of research, I've read the paperwork, and for some reason, this, and this just haven't clicked for me yet. Help me get there. That's appropriate for everyone of every level, I think.
Yeah. Well, here's the flip side of this, and I'm sure you've been in this too. You're in a meeting and a question comes up. It's a meeting with very senior people, above your pay grade. So like for me, it would be, I'm in a meeting with the SLT and Satya.
Yeah.
And they're debating and discussing something. And I believe I know, I've got opinion about it, that it's well-founded. That the question is, should I raise my hand and share it? Or just keep my mouth shut and let the room just sit there with that openness and not hearing my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's another one of, okay, how convinced am I about this? How confident I am that I've got an opinion that's based off of deep thought, that's deep enough to actually raise it in this forum and demand time from everybody here and attention and consideration. And that's also, a tough one, but there's occasions where I'm like, I'm not sure that I'm right, but I'm pretty confident and I think it's worth sharing, and I'm just going to plow through and just let it out.
This is a thing no one talks about when you get to a certain level, how much more important that is. Like, you could be right. What's the thing they say about marriage? Do you want to be happy or do you want to be right?
Yeah.
The same thing happens as you get up in a company where it's like, this might be the right question. It might be a perfectly good question, but it's the wrong venue.
Yeah.
It's the wrong form. There's too many people in the room. And if I say this, someone will lose face or I'm going to go and throw someone under the bus. those subtleties become increased.
That's a good one. I wasn't even talking about that, but that's also a really good point.
Mm.
All right. So question to you. How many times have you been in a meeting where like, I need to call out the elephant, but if I call out the elephant in this room, it's going to create some waves that maybe I don't want to make. A different way.
Yes. I don't want this smoke. It's happened twice in the last 2 weeks. One time I was in a meeting with more people than I thought, and I said something, and Amanda, my VP, says, not helpful. And just very simply.
Yeah.
And that's like, okay, now I felt bad. I couldn't delete the thing.
Yeah.
But it was like, yeah, valid, correct, yes. 3 people needed to know that, not 83 people.
Yeah.
That happened recently. Going back to imposter syndrome, it's good to know that we both have felt like that. I have a blog post from 2011 about being a complete phony. Yeah. The thing for me is about degrees.
But see, it kind of makes sense for you though.
So I discovered, I've known you for years, and I discovered not recently, but like you have a PhD, but you're not running around making everyone call you Dr. Mark anymore. And
actually, you're right about when I got my PhD, because academic circles, you do that. And so I came out and I was using it. I even used it when I was doing a postdoc, and then my early days of NT internals, I'd put Dr. Mark. And then I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, nobody cares.
Oh, wow.
And all it does is create distance.
It does create distance, but at the same time, depending on where you came from, you're not going to go to doctor school for so long and not be called doctor if the bona fide is appropriate. But then your people knowing you in the community at some point and your influence outshined the fact that you were a doctor, so you don't need the honorific.
I think that for me, and we're digressing here on this topic, but title, like the doctor title, matters. Like, what does it matter? Are you trying to convey status, or social status, status in your field, or are you just trying to convey, give people a shorthand for, this is my level of depth in this topic?
I think it's a shorthand, and I think that people look at titles as being a shorthand. So again, popping off the top of the stack to the beginning, when I chatted that person, the question that the person I was on the phone with said was, do you think he answered because he looked at your title and it said VP? Do you think he recognized your name, or do you think it was just a good question? I hope it was just because it was a good question, but that's very likely not the complete story.
Yes. Well, I think if you looked at your title, what that does is already implies this person probably has thought about this deeply, because to get to the level they're at, we talk about exec maturity and readiness for executive levels at Microsoft. That is part of it.
Is there a meeting I haven't been in?
Oh,
this is what all of my animated GIFs in Teams have been holding me back. So exec maturity.
Yeah. And part of that is that judgment.
But that gets into the definition of professionalism, which could be another episode. Scott and Mark learn to be professional.
Well, I actually think that's a different thing. Professionalism.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Exec maturity and professionalism are different.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. What was the title of this show?
Scott, Mark just ramble. I've learned to just riff.
No. Reputate's a totally different word. That's what's funny about it.
But you know how everybody's taking every noun and turning it into a verb these days? That's just...
There are verbing a lot and nouning as much.
Yeah. Like adulting.
Adulting. Yeah, it's true. No, but Scott and Mark learned to build reputation, because that really is it. I think the point is showing that you did your homework, it's reasonable. I think people... I don't know how many times you email Satya, but I feel like I've got like 2 or 3 a year.
Sure.
You email him a lot, but I have like 2 or 3 a year that I get.
Recording, I was doing it. So
you were emailing Satya just now?
No, listen. Yeah.
But the point I'm making is that I hold my Satya emails in reserve so that I use them for good, because I don't want to waste them on trivial things. And I think people do that as they move in their levels. You don't want to be like bothering your skip boss every 20 minutes about trivial stuff, because it just shows you haven't done your homework. Yeah. That is a good way to build reputation.
Yeah.
Scott and Mark learned to email Satya on a regular basis. There's a couple of times where I've been on long threads with Satya and then I'll reply to all and then I don't hear anything else after and I know that they've removed me.
No, that's not true.
You think I just had the last,
me too.
I just had the last word? Because it sucks. It's such a bad feeling.
It is a bad feeling. It's not even acknowledgement like, great point, Scott. It's just...
Yeah, there's no thumbs up. There's nothing. It's just like, I guess I spiked the ball in the end zone and that was the end of the conversation.
We're stunned into silence.
It's happened like 4 times. I'm like, is everyone hanging out without me?
Yeah. They're like, Jesus, there goes Scott again. Wow.
Ugh. Classic Hanselman. And that's another thing that I've talked about the bozo bit before.
Yeah.
Is that a thing? I try to introduce young people to the bozo bit.
Yeah.
So
In
briefly,
fact,
as we
flipping the bit is referring to
flipping the bit, right? It's the bozo bit. It's like this guy's a bozo.
Yeah.
I worry about imposter syndrome because I don't want to ask a question like DNS. What is DNS? What does that stand for? Then you flip the bozo bit, and you're like, it's really hard to flip it back.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, because that guy's a bozo. Cool. All right. Well, this was something I enjoyed this one more than usual. So I don't know if this had any value to you, dear listener.
This is my favorite one ever.
Is this your favorite one ever?
Yeah.
I will say this, though, for folks that are watching, you're not sharing the show enough because I don't understand why the skincare one didn't go crazy viral and get on Hacker News because I think that that was comedy gold.
It was gold. It was gold.
It was
By
gold.
the way, and I don't think they're sharing enough either because I look at, for example, the YouTube version and it's got comments that are like, I love, this is great, fantastic. And then it's got 3,000 views.
I don't know, man. It's funny because we did a show on Zoom It, which was great. Comments are positive. 5,000 views.
Yeah.
Then the next day, I did a thing on, here's an alternative to Windows Explorer. And it's got 65,000 views in a week. And it's like, really? Like, do we just need to show, like, if we just showed off sysinternal, nobody wants to see us yap. They just want us showing off sysinternal's tools. Well, we need to make sure that we don't overthink about those things because I think it's not about the big number. It's about the quality of the individuals.
Well, also, I think it's also just about the therapy that we're getting doing these things.
I find it very therapeutic. I live in fear that you're going to say, well, no one's watching, so why are we even hanging out together?
You know, we should do a better job of getting people to watch.
Yeah, I enjoyed these very much, and I think that the comments, and I went to the internal conference, and people would not shut up about the show. So someone's watching. We're just not managing the numbers well. I don't know.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, friends, like and subscribe, smash that bell, share this with your friends. If we can get one of these shows over 20,000 views, Mark might come back for another week.
That's about it.
All right, that's a show.